I know, of course, that political fights are the essence of democracy. I also know that it is easy for someone like me to make appeals to national unity. But tonight, I would like to make a different appeal. One to national responsibility. We cannot expect our close partners to take us seriously if we spend months without a government, and if ministers come and go on a monthly basis. We cannot expect voters to keep away from populist politicians if the existing politicians offer them nothing. Our private sector is vibrant, talented, and competent, but we cannot expect to return to the strong economic growth our nation needs if the only thing that our elected politicians and officials do is to bicker about the allocation of cabinet portfolios. We are only as strong as our national institutions and only as efficient as our administration. The burden of our national defense depends not only on our soldiers and their weapon platforms, but also on our doctors and nurses and their oxygen ventilators. And coordinating these efforts, ensuring that all entities play their roles, is the business of politicians. We should not shy away from constitutional change. Many of our key European partners not only talk about this all the time, but also periodically implement constitutional amendments. And nor should we shy away from a demand and an expectation that our politicians should not only be incorruptible, but should also act with a sense of national responsibility. This is not just the pursuit of an ideal. It is an absolute requirement. For, as the pandemic reminded us, bad administration literally costs lives. There are lessons we should draw at every level. There are questions about the efficiency of our administration, the state of our health services and the investment we put into them, as well as the ability of our state institutions to combat the wave of conspiracy theories and malicious rumors which contribute to the relatively slow pace of our vaccination program. Since this pandemic began almost 2 years ago, many nations claimed to have discovered the most perfect way of dealing with the health crisis, only to be confronted later with new calamities, while others took pride in their supposedly good health statistics, only to admit later that, sadly, their mortality figures were not that different from those suffered by their neighbors. So, while we must maintain our sense of self-criticism and look every day at how we are doing in meeting this challenge, we should also withhold our judgment until this crisis is truly over and we can offer a more balanced assessment of what has happened. We have witnessed a deliberate attempt to challenge the status quo in Europe as created at the end of the Cold War. This is not an act of charity, but a European necessity. I fear that if we do not act rapidly, we will miss a historic opportunity and encourage aggressors into new adventures or catastrophic miscalculations. Despite all the hostile propaganda, the people of the Republic of Moldova have elected leaders determined to assert their course of European integration. Despite all the difficulties of a brutal conflict that continues to kill soldiers and civilians, Ukraine maintains her democratic path. My father led a life in which he never compromised on the principles he held dear, but also never considered any duty as being beneath his dignity if it helped his nation. I am determined to continue in his footsteps.